Hi, I'm Lisa Singer. I am the Senior Editorial Director of Brand Insider at MediaPost, and this is Brand Insider BTS, where I get to pull back the curtain on some of the most influential women marketers today. And with me is Jan Weinstein. She is the VP of Media at Publicis Health Media. Hey, Jan.
Hi, Lisa. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. We were just hanging out in sunny Florida, although that's where you are now anyway, right? Your home base is Florida?
No, actually, it's not my home base. I'm actually here temporarily recovering from surgery because I need to do some rehab, and it was a lot easier to do it in this climate than it would be in New York.
Yeah, I
I'm
can
based in New
totally
York.
see that. At least
Yes.
we're not getting any snow, but I completely see that. Yeah, I can't imagine like just even seeing you at, we were recently at the Farmer and Health Summit and you were getting around so great and just such a trooper after and just you had surgery in January.
I did January 7th, right after the beginning of the year. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So loved having you there, but just because of knowing that as well, I mean, so much more grateful that you were able to make it and because you're such a wonderful addition to the event. So really happy you could be there.
Thank you so much.
Well, and now I'm happy that you can be here because I always get to know people, obviously, at the events, but I love to hear your stories. And just the more I talk with you, when we did talk a little bit, the more I just get so impressed with the things that you've been doing. And I want to be able to share it with everyone else. So here we are, going to pull back the curtain, as I say. And skipping the fact that you just had knee surgery. Before that, you decided to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Okay. And like, all right, one, that's amazing because you knew you were going to be having knee surgery shortly after that. But also, two, why at this point? I mean, it's such an amazing feat. It's like incredible at any stage in our lives, but for you to do it now, especially just before knee surgery, I mean, did that prompt you? Like, talk about what inspired you to do this?
Okay, so let me clear something up first because I did not summit. And the people who go all the way up those, 18, 19,000 feet, I mean, I'm in awe of them. So what I did was it was a very grueling 1 day hike that was a 3,000 foot elevation gain in a single day and down. So I was going on safari. That was a bucket list trip for me. I ended up going to 5 countries. And as I was planning the itinerary for that safari, I learned that you could do this day hike to Kilimanjaro. And yes, I knew that knee surgery was in my future. I worked with my team of physicians and physician assistant to prepare myself. So I had a series of injections that lubricated the space between my bones, which were kind of grinding together, and went on some non narcotic daily pain medication to manage through how I felt. But the main reason I decided to do it now, knowing that the surgery was coming up, is I know how I feel now. I know the limits that I will push myself through. After the surgery was an unknown. Like, not every surgery ends up being successful. I mean, mine was, thank goodness, but I seized the moment and said, this is something that I'm going to prepare for, I'm going to work for, and I'm going to do it. And I'm so glad I did. It was an amazing experience.
Wow. Well, first of all, I want to clarify something that is still impressive. Okay.
Okay, well,
Going 3,000 feet, or I mean, to me, that's inspiring. So, I
thank
mean,
you. Yeah.
congratulations on that. That's awesome. But also, I mean, I guess getting to you knew your capabilities then, and then the unknown. Does it prompt you? And I think just in any life, when you have something coming up that's unknown,
Mhm.
does it sort of make you think, okay, what do I need to still do? Or what, like, talk about, you said that it had been a bucket list and going to all the different countries and going on safari. Again, what was something that sort of, what do you think stimulates you the most to do something new or to do something sort of out of your comfort zone?
No, I love that question. I mean, I'm a naturally curious person. I am a responsible risk taker. I mean, I have not jumped out of an airplane. I haven't bungee jumped, but I have done some things that have challenged me, physically and mentally. I think the root of it for me is that, and maybe it has something to do with my chosen occupation too. I am a planner, and I love what goes into ultimately meeting a goal. So all the steps that I have to take, all the research that I have to undertake to do that. And once I grab onto something, or once something stimulates my desire to experience it, I go all in.
Mhm.
Just try to figure out, like, how can I optimize the experience? How can I learn about it? How can I, look forward to it? And I think that really is how I approach, most things in my life.
Yeah, I mean, and it does make sense given your career, that you sort of have these strategies, have these plans, try new things, but make sure you sort of set your goals along the way. And instead of just maybe winging it, or like you said, jumping out of a plane or something like that. Which yeah, I wouldn't even say I'm any bit of a risk taker. Like I am in terms of like life choices, maybe, but not like yeah, the plains or even like hiking a mile, up a mountain. Yeah, that's not quite me. So as I said, I am truly impressed by you doing that. So I think that's awesome.
Well, thank you. No, I mean, I thought about it for a long time, and having done it, I don't regret any of it. It was there were times on the hike when I said, why don't you guys keep going? We had two guides with us, why don't you keep going and just, I'll wait here. And they're like, nope, it's 20 more minutes. You can do it, because it gets harder as you continue to climb. So there were a couple of times I did think about giving up, but I didn't. So yeah.
You're there, I mean, there's times when you need that little push in work, in life, in anything, just to get that little nudge, and you'll know if they're nudging you too much.
Yes, it was like ultimately it was teamwork, and that's a big factor too. Having a team around you that supports you and encourages you is another just really important part of, any experience in life.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, now getting back to your career and your chosen career, you were on the agency side. You started off, but it seems like you always knew what you're doing is what you wanted to do. Just from the beginning. And I do my snooping, so I see, maybe only not everyone puts everything on LinkedIn or
Yeah.
social that there's some missing spots. So maybe fill in those spots. But talk about that, like when you were first graduating, what were you wanting? Were you seeing as your life to see? Did you see where you are today? And talk about your path to getting here.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, it's also a great question. So I am actually an accidental agency person, even though it seems like that was my chosen career. While I took advertising courses, I went to Syracuse University, which is known for their media and communications program, which I was in. I always wanted to work at a network, and actually, I envisioned myself being either in programming or potentially investigative journalism. And even though I had honestly some of the most amazing connections you could ever imagine, my mom was an agent, and she represented very, very famous, well known people, including Tom Brokaw, who is the head of, NBC News main correspondent, Peter Jennings, Bill Moyers at CBS. I would get interviews at the networks through word of mouth of these people because they knew my mom. And unfortunately, when I went to the networks, the first thing as a woman was you have to type 60 words a minute. And I thought it was really ironic that I went to 60 minutes and had to type 60 words a minute, which I couldn't do. And I was trying to figure out, like, do I really want to type 60 words a minute? It just so happened that my grandfather passed away. And at his funeral, I saw a distant cousin who was working in media, Ted Bates, and asked me, so what are you doing? You graduated. And, I graduated in May. This was August. And I said, I've been trying to look for jobs, but nothing's really happened yet. He said, well, there's media departments at ad agencies. Why don't you look into that? And through his guidance, I ended up sending out a bunch of resumes and ended up in the media industry in advertising.
That is amazing. I have to, though, excuse me, back up to you said as a woman you needed to type 60 words a minute. Like,
Yes.
why? You weren't applying to, I mean, were you having to start as an assistant or like, so
Yes.
to get my,
Yes.
but men
Yes.
have to start as assistants.
The men who were applying for the same jobs were not asked to type 60 words a minute. So it was a you need to start at the bottom, but and again, going back, men would be more likely to have a job maybe in the mailroom. or maybe in a different capacity. Whereas the women, you had to first pass the typing test. So it was a very sort of a wake up call for me in terms of the skills that were required for something that I thought, I was having much loftier goals. I
Yeah.
wanted to work as, assistant on the programming team. And that
Right.
wasn't, yeah.
Well, and it makes, I mean, having been part of the TV industry for a long time, yes, you go in and you pay your dues. You start with, I never had to type anything, but I mean, in the sense that because it's a job that a lot of people maybe want. So it becomes where they can sort of ask
Yeah.
you more than they should. And I think it's something that we see. I mean, I think we see it a little bit in advertising as well. So talk to me about, so someone wanting your career, wanting to be you, that person just starting out of school, what do you recommend for them? What's the advice you give them to get to that point?
So, I have actually mentored and helped a lot of people coming into the industry. And I said, first, if you want to work on the agency side in media, learn as much as you possibly can about the agency itself and the agency's clients. Like, understand who you're talking to and what you're talking about. Have a passion, know that media has an influence on culture, media has an influence on commerce, media has an influence on, pretty much everything, it's, and everything now is media, and everyone has an opportunity to influence decisions. So, just be passionate and learn about all the potential areas. Again, you may have to enter in a role that you didn't foresee yourself as. People come in and have dreams of glory at the beginning, but, be open minded and try a bunch of things, but come in with a knowledge of what you're stepping into. Talk to as many people as you can.
Yeah, and which is do your homework. I mean, basically,
Exactly.
when you go in and meet with them for that interview, you want to be able to go informed. You're specifically media side, and now in pharma and health, or in health, uh,
Yes,
you've been in other, you've not always been health. Is that
correct.
do you have to differentiate yourself? Someone who wants to specifically be in media and health, do you
Yes.
have to differentiate yourself in a different, unique way, or is it once you have media experience, you can grow to that, or is there certain skill sets that you need to acquire?
Oh, yeah, I love that. Like my career to begin with, I also was accidental in health. So before I worked on my first healthcare brand, which happened to be Merck, and it was Fosamax for osteoporosis, that was my first entry. I was running the Nabisco business. And one day I have this great job where my brands were Oreo and Chips Ahoy, and I had young kids at the time. So I was like, the best mom in the world because I always got cookies, right? And the next day we found out that Kraft acquired Nabisco. And the agency I was at was going to lose the business to, ironically, Publicis. It's how our industry works. And I was basically offered a couple of options. I could go with the business to a new agency, or they had an opening on health. And did I want to rotate? And I'd never worked in the health space before. I'd been on Nabisco for a while and said, maybe this is my opportunity to try something new and different, you know. And the skill set that you acquire when you work in health is very different because the regulatory environment is extremely different. Things that I took for granted that we could do, like types of sponsorships and integrations and things like that, were not permitted in the healthcare space. And ultimately, though, I found it to be incredibly rewarding. And while at that point my career wasn't exclusively health because I did work on other verticals at the same time, I pretty much always had healthcare brands under my watch and always felt very fulfilled in the work that I did for healthcare. I felt like I was making a real difference. I felt like I was not only giving people, pleasure in life, but saving lives, improving lives, and it just felt higher order to me. And eventually that was the area that I decided I really wanted to focus on in any, job search or job opportunity that I entertained.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I mean, believe me, I know in terms of I've moderated panels with you guys and done Q&As, and there's certain things you can talk about. There's certain things that can be included. There are so many more regulations that you're having to deal with. So in some instances, as you said, maybe you can't be as creative or how, in terms of what you might want to do. And then as you said, you went from Oreos, fun kids, yay, your dog in there. And then now it's really a serious subject, but you still have to engage with people. And at the end of it, you're helping people. You're helping. So do you
Yes.
more fulfilling and it's must more be more challenging, but yet fulfilling. So someone coming into it has to be aware of that, I would think, that it's not going to be the typical advertising media kind of position.
Right, right. And, I would argue though that while on the surface it seems like you're less creative, I think your thinking has to be more creative because you have to find ways to work around the regulations that are still compliant, but also compelling. So, I like to challenge myself to think like, let's turn a no into a what if. And I've done some things in my career that I'm super proud of that, others, kind of broke the mold that people had never done before.
Mhm. Well, and I love that turn it into a what if. So I want to turn what if to you. Is there a what if I didn't take that job in media? Let's give you just say that. What if? What would be the answer?
Oh, I think at the time, if I didn't take that job in media and advertising, I probably would have still pursued still something in that area. But, if I sort of like dialed myself back even further, maybe I would have gone to med school. And, when I was graduating college or even entering college, I never expected that I would want to do more schooling. Like for me, I was more excited about getting out there and working and building a career than I was about 4 more years or more of school. And now that if I kind of think back on the really what if I knew now what I knew then, maybe I would have said, it would be worth the investment because even though I ended up in a healthcare, ultimately kind of, media, everyone in my friends and family circle considers me to be like their doctor. And,
Oh,
it's like, yeah, it's like, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV sort of
yeah,
mentality. Yeah.
right. That's awesome. And that's interesting that you did in your own way become, involved in the medical field, which obviously not in your own way, for sure you are. But I didn't realize you had those aspirations younger as possibly being a doctor. So,
Yeah, I did, but then when I realized like, you might have to dissect a cadaver or whatever, or you got to go to school for all these years. I said, you know what? No, I think, media and communications is where I want to go, but I never connected it to healthcare. And even then, I don't even know that there was any appreciable healthcare marketing that was going on.
yeah, no, it makes sense. Yeah, I used to want to be a vet until I realized I'd have to see sick dogs and cats and
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no way I could be doing that. So I totally agree or get what you're saying. Okay, so I love to sort of pull from someone's brand and turn it back on them. So for Publicis Health has a tagline, we create experiences that resonate. So again, turning it back on you, can you share an experience? And when we not Kilimanjaro and
So,
all of that, something different that truly resonated with you, an experience you had. And it doesn't even have to be, like a Kilimanjaro, like, something, it's just something, an experience. It could be in a daily, day-to-day life or whatever that really resonated with you.
Lisa, can I talk about an experience that I'm going to have? Because that goes back to the like, I'm in the midst of planning it right now. And I think it really speaks to the way I approach things. So, in a couple months, my partner's son is getting married, and his dad is still alive. He's 96 years old, and he'll be coming to New York. So, I decided several months ago that it would be incredible if I could get him, because he's a Korean War veteran, if I could get him to be the veteran of the game at one of the New York sports teams. So I got to work and mined my connections, my network, and ultimately he is going to be the veteran of the game on May 13th at Citi Field, the New York Mets. And that's an experience that I know is going to resonate not only with me, but with the 30 people who are joining us for this. And, that's like sort of my brand. It's like I know already, like, in life, experiences are so much more important than material things. My gifts to my children and my friends and my significant other and whatever, I tend to make it around experiences almost universally now, because I just think that is such an important thing to carry forward with us. And time is much more important than anything. So even though it's an experience that hasn't happened yet, in my mind, it's been taking shape for a while and it has now completely come to fruition.
Well, and one, that's so amazing of you to do, and how excited he must be, and his his son, and just everyone who cares about him to be a part of that. So it's not only an experience resonating with you, but with so many other people it's going to touch.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you. I know. So it's like, even though, again, it's not an experience that has already happened that I'm reflecting on, it's one I'm incredibly looking forward to. And having seen it happen, I know what it's going to be like, but now I can actually picture him as that honoree. So it's wonderful.
Well, and you do, I mean, obviously you're going to experience more once it happens, but just the excitement of telling him and the excitement of telling the people around, like those are all things you're experiencing leading. It's a very long experience in a sense, it's something
Yeah,
that you really savor.
very much so. So yeah, thank you.
So wonderful of you. That's really awesome. I love that. Well, this might go, I don't know if it goes into this or whatever, but if you have a small, maybe inconsequential, although that would not clarify as inconsequential, thing about you that most people don't know, maybe a secret talent or whatnot.
Oh my gosh. So those who know me really closely maybe know one of these. I have two, like, I call them hidden talents. Like, David Letterman used to do stupid human tricks, and I always thought that I could, like, do my stupid human trick. But I actually have two. One is I can sneeze like Donald Duck. Like, so if it's a Donald Duck sneezing, I can do a Donald Duck sneeze. And the
Okay.
other one is I can sing any song, like any song of any genre, exactly like Ethel Merman. And at one point I said, if I ever was like looking to do something really wacky, I would open like an off-Broadway show called The Little Merman and do a sing-along with any song that was could be sung like Ethel Merman. So that's my that's my like ridiculous hidden talent.
Well, I have to ask. I know you probably will say no, but can we sneeze like Donald Duck or can we sing like Ethel Merman?
Okay, of the two, I'll sneeze like Donald Duck because that one's easy. Okay, I'll
Let's
just do it. Okay.
I totally got that at the end. Initially, it was a little soft, but then that you finished strong.
Yeah, I'm not singing. No, that's not going to happen. Maybe at the next like conference or something. After like a glass of wine or something.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I love that. That needs to be your retirement plan. That if just even if it's one night only.
Uh,
The little merman, the little
the
merman.
Little Merman. Yeah, just like to do it. It's just like it's just like a funny thing that I realized that I could do when I was growing up, and my dad used to like trot me out of parties, like, look what Jan can do, and I can do it.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, okay, so what's your guilty pleasure?
Oh gosh, well, maybe this won't surprise you, but my guilty pleasure is like full stop, the beach, and it's love, literally the love of my life. Like, nothing in my life compares to how I feel when I'm at the beach, just, quiet and watching the ocean. And yeah, that's my guilty pleasure.
Wow. So now could nighttime, daytime, I mean, not night, but you know what I'm saying? Like, and it doesn't have to be sunny. Although I'm sure you love to lie in the sun, but also just being by the water, I guess.
Being by the water, I actually prefer partly cloudy or cloudy, because sunny can really feel like, like I don't want to burn. But the other night, I went down to the ocean at 10 to 9 at night and watched the moonrise over the ocean. So it's sunset, sunrise, moonrise. I've never seen a moonset. Maybe that's on my bucket list, I guess. Didn't know I never thought of it till now. But yeah, it could be daytime, it could be nighttime. It's just like I'm drawn to it.
That's so great. I love that. I actually feel the same way. I feel like it's calming.
Yeah,
Um,
there
and I love the sound of the waves. I lived
too.
close to the ocean at one point, and I could hear not the seal, sea lions, I guess, bark,
Yes.
and then the waves. It just was like, if that was a dog out there barking, I'd be annoyed, but it was just the way it was. So I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I think we totally get each other right now. Yeah, that's it's just something incredibly special about it. I could never imagine myself living more than say like 20 or 30 minutes from the ocean.
Yeah, no, completely see that. All right, well, I have to go into so this is you're actually my first person I'm asking this question to because I heard this song and I'm like, I love this. Like the question is the song is from Brad Paisley, and
Okay.
the song is called Letter to Me. And I'm big on words. I love to list. That's what I love. The songs that I really enjoy have stories and words and it's basically sending a letter to a 17-year-old self. And he sort of lists things that, don't worry, if you don't study, your parents won't hate you, or whatever, and things like that. Like they just make sure to put your foot on the brake fully when you're at a stop sign. So they're little things. They're not like, so it's not the question, what would you tell your 14-year-old or your 17-year-old self? Like that's usually more profound. This are
Yeah.
little things that were happening at that time in your life that maybe you say, don't worry about this,
Yeah.
give me three top things.
Well, I'm gonna kind of like bring back one I already said. Don't worry about what you have to do. Go to med school. Like do it. Like get yourself, take that, do that science major, do it. And again, it's not like I regret my career, but I think I would have done well in that profession. Um, the second one, I am going to give credit to my dad because this is something he said to me many years later that I wish I knew, and I would have liked to have known this at 17. But the advice that I would give, and I think it's good for anybody at any age, if you expect people to behave like you would in any situation, your whole life is going to be a disappointment. So stop having expectations, just be you, do it the right thing for you, and don't expect other people to be what you are. And because that saves you a lot of heartache.
Yeah,
So that's an awesome piece of advice.
totally.
And I think the third one is that, life becomes full of unexpected surprises, like not that surprises are expected. It's kind of said the same thing, right? But unexpected things or surprises, right? And you just got to keep pushing forward. Like you can't let these things that you didn't anticipate get in your way. And like, I think in my life, there probably have been things that were unexpected that stopped me in my tracks where I should have just stepped over it.
Yeah. All right. Those are all good. And a little profound, I
Yeah,
was
maybe too profound.
that I said yes to go to the mall instead of studying for my test or whatever it may be.
Yeah,
But I still, the doctor one though was
yeah,
certainly, I actually, when you were saying that in my head, I'm like, this is going to come back to me, like
yeah,
when we're
yeah.
talking about it, this is going to come back from this particular question because
The thing is, Lisa, I think I did go to the mall instead of studying for my test. So maybe it's the other way around. Study for that test.
then maybe I would have been a doctor, right?
Right, exactly.
I totally get the whole 3, 4, 5 more years of school is when you're younger, it's very like it seems like a lifetime. Whereas now
Yes.
you look at things and
It's a
you
blank. Yeah.
want more education and learning more about different things. So, okay, so 10 years from now, what will you regret doing too much of?
Probably going to the beach. I know. Isn't that crazy, right? It's like the yin yang, right? I probably will. I'll be like, like, why did I spend all that time at the beach? But yeah, I mean, there's that. And then, if we want to be a little more profound, like maybe overthinking certain things, and not like just following my own advice. That's very easy to say when we're talking, but I am a, 3 a.m. overthinker, and I'll probably regret that because that stuff is not going to matter 10 years from now.
Yeah. No, no, I totally agree with that. Or just rethinking, I don't know, do you do this? How should I have said something differently? Like re
Oh,
in your mind, like I should have said this. Oh,
yes,
maybe, and then you don't stop thinking about that, like as you said, until 3 a.m. in the morning or whatever.
right. And sometimes we have the opportunity to say it differently. Like I think through like it's so easy to communicate with everybody now. It's a blessing and a curse, right? But it used to be you'd get off the phone with somebody, and if you wanted to say something different, you'd have to call them back.
Yeah.
Now you can send a text and be like, "Hey, you might have heard X, but what I really meant was," or I just we have an opportunity to give second chances, and I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think take advantage of it. Although I'm still, even with text, like I do text, but like I need if not in person, which I prefer, the phone. Like, you know what I mean? Like I want to hear otherwise you imagine things. Like my head will imagine the worst. I don't know their response. I like to either hear their response or how they're taking what I'm saying or see it. And that's it. So
Mhm.
text to me a very just curt little whatever, things we all have to text about. And same with emails. My boss once said to me, he's like, you need to get over your email thing. Because I'm like, I was waiting for us to talk. And he's like, at
Yeah,
least
yeah,
you know so but that's my own issue, so that's another discussion. So last question for you. All right, we
sure.
have big goals. What's your daily win?
Okay. Every day that I learn something, I consider a good day. And it could be the smallest little thing, like I didn't know that actor was so and so or whatever. Anytime I learn something, I feel like, wow, I've grown today. And my other daily win, and maybe this is also because of the situation I'm in, is making sure I get some daily exercise.
Hmm.
And there are days, I got to tell you, there are days, especially, New York winters or whatever, where I'm happily on my sofa all day binging Netflix for like 12 hours. But if I can get some sort of movement or get some sort of physical activity, especially now with being, recovering from the knee surgery, it's a win. So
Yeah.
learning and doing.
Well, I love that, and I hope that you recover even more. You sounds like you said things are good, operation was good, things are going well, so we're on target for them when we come to New York, and we're going to be walking and doing a jig.
Yes, I'm working on the final phase of my recovery now is going down steps. I've mastered up, down is still really hard. So until I can go down steps comfortably, that takes things like commuting or whatever kind of out of the realm. I live in a house with 2 flights of steps, so this is what I'm working on almost exclusively over the next few weeks before I come back home.
Wow. Well, best to you for getting better and going downstairs. So
Yes.
again, thank you so much. I really appreciate this was so awesome to have this chat and to learn more things about you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. It was great chatting with you as well.
Great. And thank you for watching. And as I always say, if you know anyone that you want me to pull back the curtain on, any amazing woman, marketing woman like Jan, just let me know and I'll do my best to get her. So thanks for watching and thanks again, Jan.